The entertainment world is in absolute chaos, and at the center of the storm is none other than Drake, the man who was once untouchable, now facing a tidal wave of lawsuits, betrayal, and accusations that threaten to shatter his empire. From chart-topping success to shocking downfall, whispers of a media blackout are spreading like wildfire. Is the industry protecting him, or is the truth simply too explosive to expose? Fans are buzzing, insiders are leaking cryptic messages, and even close friends are choosing sides. The once glittering image of Drake as the Iceman of hip-hop is now cracking under pressure, revealing secrets, scandals, and shocking betrayals that no one saw coming. Sources claim lawsuits are piling up behind the scenes, business partners are pulling away, and rivals are calling him out for clout chasing like never before. But that's not all. Rumors of empty music, soulless projects, and a fan-led boycott are shaking the very core of his career. The question on everyone's lips tonight: is this the end of Drake's reign, or just another chapter in his carefully crafted empire of fame? Stay tuned, because the truth behind the Iceman might just leave you speechless. The whispers started quietly, like smoke rising before a fire, but it didn't take long before the entire industry felt the heat. Behind closed doors, Drake was scrambling to keep his empire from collapsing. Lawsuits were stacking up faster than his team could push them aside, and insiders claimed the legal fees alone were draining millions from his accounts every single month. One source described it as a silent war, where lawyers battled in courtrooms, while Drake fought in the court of public opinion. The public only saw the polished surface, the Instagram posts, and flashy cars. But deep down, he was losing control. It all began with a deal that went sour. A former collaborator accused Drake of stealing creative ideas, pushing him out of contracts, and cashing in on projects that weren't his to own. The accusations sent shockwaves through the music world. Suddenly, fans weren't just listening to the music, they were dissecting every lyric, every post, every statement, wondering if the man they idolized was really the villain in disguise. He betrayed everyone for clout, the collaborator reportedly said in a leaked voice note, a phrase that sent social media into meltdown. The fallout was immediate. Fans who once screamed his name at concerts were now demanding explanations. Is Drake even making real music anymore, or is it just recycled clout? One tweet read, racking up hundreds of thousands of likes overnight. Others were harsher, calling him empty, soulless, and accusing him of creating music that only existed to chase trends. For an artist who built his empire on relatability and emotional depth, this cut deep. Insiders close to him revealed that Drake felt cornered, betrayed by the very people who once stood beside him. Family members reportedly stepped in, trying to calm the storm, but even that ended in conflict. A close cousin allegedly confronted him at a private dinner, saying, "You've lost yourself. You've let the fame control you, and now we're all paying the price." Sources claim Drake slammed his glass down, his voice shaking as he shouted back, "I gave everything to this family, everything, and now you're questioning me?" The room reportedly fell silent, the sound of tension louder than any beat he could ever produce. Meanwhile, the lawsuits kept coming. An old producer from his early career filed claims that Drake had promised him royalties that never arrived. A clothing brand accused him of backing out of a multi-million-dollar endorsement deal. Even a former friend turned foe was dragging his name into the mud, saying Drake used people like stepping stones and then tossed them aside. Fans were shocked, because these weren't just strangers, these were people who had once been part of his inner circle. People who knew the real Drake. The industry reaction was split. Some artists distanced themselves, avoiding collaborations and keeping quiet, afraid of being dragged into the storm. Others weren't so silent. A rising rapper publicly accused Drake of blocking opportunities and using his influence to silence competition. "He can't stand anyone shining brighter than him," the rapper said during a live stream that quickly went viral. The clip was shared millions of times, igniting a new wave of debates online. Was Drake the supportive mentor he claimed to be, or was he deliberately crushing anyone who threatened his throne? And then came the so-called media blackout. Fans noticed that major outlets were suddenly quiet. News of the lawsuits barely made headlines, while smaller blogs and independent creators were the only ones daring to speak on it. The silence was suspicious, and fans began to suspect that powerful hands were at play, protecting Drake's image from total collapse. "They don't want us to know the truth," one fan wrote on a viral Reddit thread. sparking theories that Drake's team was paying off journalists and burying stories before they reached the surface. At the heart of it all was the music itself, and this was where fans felt most betrayed. His latest project, instead of being celebrated, was torn apart online. Critics said the songs felt hollow, lacking passion, with lyrics that sounded more like social media captions than real storytelling. It's like he doesn't even care anymore, a former fan wrote. Concert footage showed fans standing still instead of singing along, their faces blank as Drake tried to hype them up. One viral video captured a fan yelling, "Play something real," during a live show, and the clip spread like wildfire. Behind the scenes, Drake was reportedly furious. Friends claimed he spent nights pacing in his mansion, replaying the criticism, in his head snapping at anyone who tried to offer advice. "They don't understand the pressure I'm under," he allegedly told a close friend. "I'm fighting lawsuits, I'm fighting the media, and now I'm fighting my own fans? How much more do they want from me?" The frustration boiled over into arguments with his team, with one insider revealing that Drake even fired a longtime manager after a heated exchange where voices were raised and doors were slammed. But the betrayals weren't just professional, they were personal. A woman from his past came forward, claiming he had made promises to support her and their child, only to turn his back once the cameras were off. Whether the story was true or not, the headlines were brutal. "Drake the Iceman leaves hearts frozen," one tabloid wrote, a line that instantly trended on social media. Fans began to question not just his artistry, but his humanity. As the storm raged on, Drake reportedly reached out to a few trusted friends in the industry for support. But even there, cracks appeared. One major artist allegedly told him, "I can't risk my career getting caught in your mess." The rejection stung, a reminder that loyalty in the music world often came second to self-preservation. And yet, in the middle of all this chaos, Drake refused to give up control. "They can't cancel me," he reportedly said, his voice cold. "Because I built this, I am the empire." But deep down, doubt was creeping in. His team could see it in his eyes, the way he lingered on headlines longer than usual, the way he scrolled through social media comments late at night, searching for even a shred of support. Fans were divided. Some still defended him fiercely, saying he was being targeted because of his success, while others called for a complete boycott, urging people to stop streaming his music until he addressed the allegations. The turning point came when a shocking recording leaked online. It was allegedly a private conversation between Drake and a close confidant, where his voice could be heard saying, "I don't even care about the music anymore, it's all just business." If the fans don't get that, then they're not real. Fans, the internet exploded. For years, Drake had branded himself as the emotional artist who bared his soul through music, but this recording painted him as cold, detached, and focused only on profit. That leak marked the moment where fans began to seriously discuss the idea of boycotting him. Hashtags like "Boycott the Iceman" trended worldwide, and playlists once dominated by his tracks were suddenly emptied by frustrated listeners. "We made him who he is," one fan wrote, "and now he's showing us he doesn't care." It was a betrayal that cut deeper than any lawsuit or industry feud, and yet, despite the outrage, there were still questions left unanswered. Was the recording even real, or was it a carefully planted piece of sabotage by someone looking to take him down? Who stood to gain the most from Drake's downfall? And why were the biggest media outlets still so quiet, even as the internet drowned in scandal? The drama was far from over, and if anything, this was only the beginning of Drake's fight to hold on to his crown. The leaked recordings spread across the internet like wildfire, and within hours it was impossible to escape. Whether you opened Twitter, scrolled through Instagram, or checked YouTube, Drake's alleged words were everywhere. "I don't even care about the music anymore, it's all just business," he was heard saying, his voice chillingly calm. To fans who had grown up crying to his heartbreak ballads or celebrating to his club anthems, this felt like the ultimate betrayal. The man who had always branded himself as emotionally raw now sounded like a corporate machine. Reactions were swift and merciless. Fans posted tearful videos, some smashing vinyl records, others deleting playlists they'd once curated with pride. One viral TikTok showed a young fan saying, "This isn't just music for us, it was therapy." To hear him admit he doesn't care feels like he used us. The comment section was flooded with agreement, people EC, holding that Drake had crossed a line that no artist could come back from. but others weren't convinced. Some questioned whether the recording was authentic at all. A wave of conspiracy theories flooded Reddit threads and hip-hop forums. Was it an AI-generated deepfake? Was it leaked by a rival artist trying to sabotage him? Or was it someone inside his circle, someone close enough to have access to private conversations, who decided to sell him out for money? Ththese questions only deepened the drama because regardless of whether it was real, the damage had already been done. Insiders described Drake's reaction as explosive. When he first heard about the leak, he allegedly locked himself in a studio, blasting music at deafening volumes, pacing back and forth as his phone buzzed nonstop. A friend close to him claimed he screamed, "Who's betraying me? Who's cashing checks with my downfall?" The paranoia began to spread. Suddenly, every member of his team looked like a potential traitor. Tensions boiled over in meetings, with Drake accusing managers and assistants of leaking confidential conversations. People who had worked with him for years reportedly walked out, too offended to stay after being accused. Meanwhile, the boycott movement gained momentum. The hashtag Boycott the Iceman wasn't just trending, it was sticking. Streaming numbers reportedly dipped significantly in a matter of days, shocking even the most loyal executives at his label. For the first time in over a decade, Drake wasn't dominating the charts. He wasn't breaking records. He wasn't being celebrated. Instead, he was being questioned, doubted, and mocked. Memes began circulating, comparing his recent lyrics to bland marketing slogans, calling his music fast food rap cheap, quick, and empty. The industry, which had stayed suspiciously quiet during the lawsuits, now had no choice but to speak. Anonymous executives whispered to journalists that Drake was becoming a liability. One even said, "The brand is collapsing from within, and we don't know if it can be saved." Other artists, sensing opportunity, began taking subtle shots. A popular rapper released a freestyle with the line, "I put my soul in these bars." While you chase brands in a suit, and everyone knew who it was aimed at. Social media lit up with speculation, with fans dissecting every lyric as if the entire hip-hop world was lining up to take him down. Family members weren't spared either. Rumors spread that Drake's mother, usually supportive and proud, had broken down in tears during a private family gathering asking, "Where did my son go?" Allegedly, she pleaded with him to focus on music again, to remember why he started in the first place, but he reportedly snapped back, "You don't understand the business, Mom. It's bigger than music now." The tension left the family divided, some siding with him, others begging him to step back before everything crumbled completely. And then came another twist. Court documents surfaced online showing that one of his former producers was suing him for millions in unpaid royalties. The timing was almost too perfect, arriving just days after the recording leak. Fans were convinced it was coordinated, a calculated attempt to completely destroy him. Blogs speculated that there was a shadowy figure orchestrating the chaos, pulling strings behind the scenes to bring Drake's empire crashing down. Some named old rivals, others pointed at powerful industry moguls who had long felt threatened by his dominance. Whatever the truth was, it added another layer of mystery. To an already chaotic storm in public, Drake tried to keep his composure. He appeared at a basketball game courtside, dressed sharply, smiling for the cameras, but fans weren't convinced. His smile looked forced, his eyes tired, as though he was carrying the weight of the world. When he posted on Instagram later that night, captions like, "Still here, still winning," only fueled the fire. Critics called it delusional, fans called it tone-deaf, and memes spread of him pretending everything was fine while his empire burned around him. Privately, his friends described him as conflicted. One night he reportedly told a close associate, "I don't know who I can trust anymore. Every move I make, someone turns it into a headline. I don't even know if I'm fighting the truth or lies." That statement highlighted the core of his crisis, not knowing where the betrayal was coming from, not knowing if his downfall was self-inflicted or engineered. As the boycott continued, streaming services began to feel the pressure. Some fans demanded his music be removed from curated playlists, and shockingly, a few platforms complied. Suddenly, the world's most streamed artist wasn't featured on the biggest charts. It was an unprecedented move, one that proved how powerful the fan backlash had become. And it wasn't just fans. Brands that once lined up to work with him quietly backed out of contracts. A fashion deal worth millions was reportedly canceled, with the company citing creative differences. though everyone knew it was really about the negative publicity. The cracks in his empire were now visible for the world to see. Rival artists celebrated, fans argued, and the media finally began picking up the stories they had once ignored. It was as though the so-called blackout had lifted and everything was spilling into the open at once. Articles dissected his every move, podcasts debated his downfall, and YouTube creators turned out endless content analyzing his decline. But amidst all the chaos, there was one shocking rumor that sent fans into a frenzy. An anonymous insider claimed that Drake himself was planning to retire from music, at least temporarily, to escape the storm. He wants to disappear, regroup, and come back stronger, the source said. Some fans begged him to do it, saying he needed time to rediscover his passion. Others mocked the idea, claiming he was running away instead of facing the truth. Either way, it was clear that the Drake the world once knew was no longer the same. And just when fans thought the situation couldn't get any worse, another bombshell was about to drop. Late one night, a mysterious post appeared on a gossip page, hinting at a betrayal so personal, so intimate, that it could destroy what little credibility he had left. The post didn't reveal details yet, it was just a blurry photo of Drake, sitting in a studio with a caption that read, "You think the lawsuits and leaks are bad? Wait until the world sees what his own crew has been hiding." The internet exploded with speculation. Was it about money? Was it about family? Or was it something darker, something fans couldn't even imagine? Everyone was on edge, waiting for the next revelation, knowing that Drake's story was spiraling out of control and there was no telling where it would end. The blurry photo stayed online for less than an hour before it was deleted, but by then, the damage was already done. Screenshots flooded Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit. Everyone was demanding answers. The caption had promised a betrayal deeper than lawsuits or leaked recordings, something that would come from Drake's own crew. Fans dissected every pixel of that image, who was in the background, what the studio looked like, what track might have been playing. Some even enhanced the photo, pointing out a shadowy figure who seemed to be recording him with a phone. Then the bomb dropped. A day later, a well-known gossip site published an expose claiming that one of Drake's closest friends, someone who had been with him since before the fame, had secretly recorded conversations, photos, and documents that could destroy his reputation. According to the site, this friend had been sitting on the evidence for years, waiting for the right moment to release it. And now, with the world already turning against Drake, they were ready to cash in. Fans were stunned. The betrayal wasn't coming from rivals or outsiders, it was coming from someone within his inner circle, someone who knew his secrets better than anyone else. "This is Shakespearean," one fan tweeted. "The empire isn't falling from outside attacks, it's collapsing from within." The expose revealed screenshots of text messages where Drake allegedly mocked his own fans, calling them obsessed sheep and laughing about how easy it was to manipulate them with shallow lyrics. There were photos of him with business partners making shady handshakes, deals that reportedly cut out longtime collaborators. But the most shocking piece was a recording, another one where Drake's voice could be heard saying, "I don't care who I hurt as long as I stay number one." The internet lost its mind. The betrayal wasn't just that these things were leaked, it was who leaked them. Blogs claimed the traitor was a childhood friend, someone Drake had once called family. That detail cut deeper than anything else. For years, he had rapped about loyalty, about keeping his circle tight, about trusting only the people who had been with him since day one. Now, those same people were tearing him down. Drake's reaction behind the scenes was described as volcanic. One insider claimed he smashed a laptop against the wall after seeing the expose. "They're all snakes," he reportedly shouted, pacing the room while his team tried to calm him down. "I made them, and this is how they repay me?" He allegedly accused half his inner circle of plotting against him, turning every meeting into a shouting match. The betrayal quickly became the centerpiece of fan discussion. Some fans sympathized with him, saying anyone would break if their closest friends turned on them. Others argued it was karma, the universe paying him back for the way he treated people throughout his career. When you build an empire on ego and money, one fan wrote on Reddit, "Don't be surprised when the people you use get tired of being stepped on." Family drama added fuel to the fire. Reports claimed Drake's own father spoke out in a cryptic interview saying, I always told him loyalty is a two-way street. If you don't give it, you won't get it. Though he didn't name names, everyone knew who he was talking about. The quote went viral, painted across memes, and used as captions on TikToks exposing Drake's alleged wrongdoings. It was another cut, another reminder that even those closest to him weren't standing firmly by his side. As if that wasn't enough, rival rappers started circling like vultures. One went on live and said, "This is what happens when you treat the game like a business instead of an art." The Iceman melted under pressure. The phrase "Iceman melted" became a trending slogan, plastered across hashtags, fan edits, and diss tracks that mocked his downfall. Suddenly, his reputation wasn't just crumbling, it was being actively dismantled by competitors eager to take his place. But there was another twist. A well-known journalist dropped a hint that the betrayal might go even deeper than friends or family. In a cryptic tweet, she wrote, "You're all focused on the leaks, but no one's asking who benefits the most from Drake's collapse." That single line sparked a frenzy of conspiracy theories. Was the betrayal orchestrated by his record label? Was a rival mogul pulling strings behind the scenes? Or was it simply greed from people in his circle who wanted their share of the empire? Drake himself went silent. For days, he didn't post, didn't appear in public, didn't respond to the chaos. Fans debated whether it was a strategy or a breakdown. Some said he was regrouping, preparing for a comeback. Others said he was hiding, too afraid to face the storm. The silence only made the speculation louder, with fans demanding answers he refused to give. Behind closed doors, sources claimed Drake's mansion became a fortress. Security was doubled, visitors were vetted, and even longtime friends were denied entry. One insider described it as paranoia on steroids, with Drake convinced that every person around him was a potential traitor. "He doesn't trust anyone," the source said. "Not his friends, not his team, not even his family. It's him against the world now." The media, which had once protected him, now seemed eager to expose him. Articles with headlines like, "Drake's empire of ice crumbles," and "From hero to villain, the fall of a hip-hop giant," dominated the news cycle. Every new piece of information, whether verified or not, was treated like gospel. Fans who once defended him grew tired of the constant scandals, throwing their hands up and saying, "Where there's smoke, there's fire." Yet, through all the chaos, Drake reportedly still clung to one belief, that he could outlast the storm. "They'll move on," he allegedly told a confidant late one night. "They always do. They'll hate me today and love me tomorrow." It was a chilling reminder of the confidence or arrogance that had carried him to the top in the first place. But even as he spoke those words, the boycott hashtags continued trending. The betrayal stories continued spreading, and the ice beneath his empire continued to crack. The climax came when an anonymous hacker group entered the picture, claiming to have even more dirt on Drake. In a chilling video posted online, their voices distorted. They said, "We have the files that will show the world who the Iceman really is. If he doesn't come clean, we will." The video sent shockwaves across social media, with fans wondering if this was the final nail in the coffin. Who were these hackers and what did they really have? Everyone was on edge. Would they leak more recordings, financial records, personal messages? The threat hung in the air like a storm cloud, and suddenly, Drake's silence didn't look like strategy anymore. It looked like fear. And as the world waited for the hackers to make their next move, one thing became clear. The empire wasn't just under attack from lawsuits, betrayals, and fans. It was now under siege from forces far more dangerous, forces that didn't care about music, fame, or loyalty. They wanted destruction, and they were willing to expose everything to get it. Iceman was cracking, and the world was watching every fracture spread. The hacker video set the internet ablaze. The distorted voices, the ominous threat, and the promise of exposing the real Iceman created a level of suspense even Drake's biggest scandals hadn't reached yet. Fans flooded social media with theories. Some claimed the hackers were bluffing, others insisted they had proof so devastating it would end his career forever. A countdown clock began circulating online, supposedly marking the time until the hackers released their files. Whether real or fan-made, it only added fuel to the fire. Inside Drake's camp, panic spread like wildfire. His legal team scrambled, trying to anticipate what could be exposed. His managers worried about contracts being canceled if damaging information hit the public. One insider said Drake spent sleepless nights pacing his mansion, muttering to himself, "What do they have? What did I say? Who's working with them?" His paranoia deepened as he accused former friends of feeding the hackers information. The tension reached a breaking point when an emergency meeting with his closest advisors turned into a screaming match. "You all let this happen," Drake allegedly shouted, slamming his fists on the table. One manager fired back, "You created this mess with your arrogance, and now we're the ones trying to clean it up." The room reportedly fell into silence, the sound of betrayal hanging heavy in the air. For the first time, his team began to wonder if sticking by him was worth it. As the countdown ticked down, fans became divided. Some begged the hackers not to release anything, claiming it would destroy not only Drake but the entire fanbase who had built their lives around his music. Others egged the hackers on, tweeting things like "Expose him and we deserve the truth." It was a cultural war playing out in real time, with millions of people glued to their screens, waiting for the next bombshell. Then it happened. The hackers released a massive data dump, thousands of files allegedly pulled from Drake's own devices. Emails, contracts, and personal messages flooded the web. Among them were conversations where Drake complained about collaborating with smaller artists, dismissing them as irrelevant nobodies. There were financial documents suggesting shady dealings, money funneled through shell companies, and unpaid royalties to collaborators. But the most explosive revelation was a series of private messages where Drake allegedly admitted he no longer believed in the music. "It's all a hustle," one message read. "Fans eat whatever we give them as long as it's packaged right." The backlash was immediate and brutal. Fans who had defended him through every scandal now felt there was no going back. "He doesn't respect us. He never did," one viral post read. Concert tickets were returned in droves, merchandise sales plummeted, and even some of his most loyal fan pages shut down in disgust. The boycott wasn't just trending anymore, it was working. Drake's silence finally broke with a desperate livestream. Sitting in a dimly lit room, his voice shaky, he said, "I never thought it would come to this. People are painting me as a monster, and that's not who I am." But instead of winning sympathy, the livestream only made things worse. He looked tired, defensive, and when he denied the leaked files without providing proof, fans flooded the comments with anger. "Stop lying," they wrote, "own up. You used us." The chat scrolled so fast that his words were drowned out by rage. In the aftermath, Drake reportedly spiraled further. Friends described him as isolated, barely speaking, staring out at the Toronto skyline late into the night. He allegedly confessed to one confidant, "I don't know who I am without the music, but the music doesn't love me anymore." It was a rare moment of vulnerability from someone who had built his image on control. Meanwhile, his rivals celebrated openly. Diss tracks dropped within hours of the hacker leaks, mocking him, ridiculing his downfall, and claiming his throne. One artist even performed on stage with a giant ice sculpture melting under the lights, a not-so-subtle jab at the Iceman persona. Fans cheered, laughing at Drake's expense, as if his career had turned into entertainment fodder. But the drama didn't end there. More betrayals came to light. A former girlfriend gave a tearful interview, claiming Drake had promised her a future but left her behind when fame consumed him. A family member hinted in a podcast that money had torn the family apart. We don't even recognize him anymore," they said, their voice heavy with disappointment. Each revelation chipped away at what little loyalty remained, leaving him standing alone. And yet, in the middle of all this, there was still a spark of fight left in him. According to insiders, Drake began writing again, not for charts, not for trends, but for himself. "If I'm going down, I'm going down with real music," he reportedly told a producer who stuck by him. Rumors spread that he was working on a raw confessional project, something unlike anything he had ever released. Some fans clung to this as a sign of hope, whispering that maybe the downfall would lead to a rebirth. Still, the world wasn't ready to forgive. Media outlets declared him canceled, brands cut ties, and streaming platforms quietly pushed his music out of spotlighted playlists. The man who once dominated every conversation was now spoken of as a cautionary tale. His legacy, once untouchable, was hanging by a thread. The final blow came when his own crew, those who hadn't already left, abandoned him one by one. The people who once surrounded him in music videos, backstage photos, and luxury vacations now posted cryptic messages online. One wrote, "Loyalty only goes so. It goes so."